Stop swiping and start listening, because what you are about to hear could literally be the most important financial conversation you have had in years. Picture this. You pull out your credit card to pay for something totally ordinary, maybe groceries, maybe a streaming subscription, maybe just a tank of gas. And right at that moment, without you doing anything at all, your card quietly earns you rewards, builds your credit score, and shifts money back into your pocket. Or, without you realizing it, your card does the exact opposite. It drains hundreds of dollars a year in interest, traps you in a cycle of minimum payments, and turns every swipe into a slow leak in your financial future. Here is the thing that blows most people's minds. The exact same tool, your credit card, is doing one of these two things right now. And the difference between which one it is doing for you has almost nothing to do with how much money you make, and everything to do with understanding the invisible psychological and mathematical mechanics behind how credit cards actually work. My name is Victor, and I spend an embarrassing amount of time thinking about why some people turn their credit cards into wealth-building machines, while others hand over thousands of dollars every single year to the same banks issuing those cards. If you are tired of feeling like your credit card is winning and you are losing, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button, because we are about to change the way you think about every single swipe you make. Before we get into the math that is going to completely rewire how you look at your wallet, let me ask you something. When you think about credit card rewards, cashback, points, miles, what comes to mind? Maybe you think it is a nice little bonus, a few dollars here and there, probably not worth paying much attention to. Or maybe you have bought into the idea that credit card rewards are a trap designed to make you spend more than you should. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Both of those beliefs are partially right, and the gap between the person who uses them correctly and the person who does not is not a few dollars. Over a decade, it can be tens of thousands of dollars. That is not a typo. Tens of thousands. Here is why this matters so much psychologically. Your brain does not naturally track small, repeated transactions. Neuroscientists call this denomination blindness. A $10 charge feels almost invisible when it happens once. But when it happens 365 times a year, you have just spent $3,600 on something you never consciously decided to prioritize. Credit card companies built their entire business model around this quirk in human cognition. They know that the pain of paying is dramatically reduced when you swipe a card instead of handing over cash. Studies from MIT actually showed that people are willing to spend up to 100% more for the same item when paying by card versus cash. That is not a small difference. That is your brain being tricked in real time. But here is where it gets really interesting. That same psychological mechanism that makes it easy to overspend on a credit card can be flipped entirely in your favor when you understand how to use it. Think about this for a second. If you earn 2% cash back on every dollar you spend, and your household spends $4,000 per month on regular expenses, you are generating $80 every single month in pure passive income. That is $960 per year. And here is the part most people never bother to calculate. If you take that $960 every year and invest it at a 7% annual return over 30 years, you end up with over $91,000. $91,000 from a card you were going to use anyway. The math does not care whether you are paying attention to it or not. It just keeps running. But before you get too excited, we need to talk about the other side of this equation. Because for every person building quiet wealth through their credit card rewards, there is someone paying for it. And those people are paying a lot. The average credit card interest rate right now sits at around 22% annually. Think about what that actually means in your day-to-day life. If you are carrying a $5,000 balance on a card at 22% and you are making minimum payments, you will pay over $12,000 in total by the time that debt is gone. You borrowed $5,000 and paid back $12,000. That is $7,000 in pure interest that went straight to the bank. $7,000 that could have been your emergency fund, your investment account, or a down payment on a property that builds real value over time. This is what psychologists call temporal discounting on steroids. Your brain sees the thing you bought with that card, maybe a new phone, maybe a vacation, Maybe just everyday expenses stacked up over months, and it values the immediate experience far more than the future cost. You feel the benefit now, and the pain arrives slowly in the form of a minimum payment that never seems to shrink. It is one of the most sophisticated psychological traps ever built, and it is legal. It is widely used, and most people walk right into it without a second thought. But here is where the story starts to flip in your favor. There is a behavioral threshold that separates people who bleed money through credit cards and people who extract value from them. And it is simpler than you think. It is not about discipline in the way most people frame it. It is not about white-knuckling your spending or swearing off restaurants and online shopping. It is about one single rule applied consistently. Never carry a balance. That is it. When you pay your full statement balance every single month, something mathematically extraordinary happens. The interest rate becomes completely irrelevant. It does not matter if your card charges 22% or 40%. If your balance hits zero before the due date, you pay zero interest. Every single reward you earn becomes pure profit. The bank is now paying you to use their product. Now let us talk about the math of building real savings through your credit card strategy, because this is where things start to get genuinely exciting. Let me walk you through what a disciplined credit card approach actually looks like over time, with real numbers that most people never stop to calculate. Say you have three main spending categories: groceries, gas, and general purchases. There are cards on the market right now that offer 3% back on groceries, 2% on gas, and 1.5% on everything else. If your household spends $600 a month on groceries, $200 on gas, and $2,000 on general expenses, here is what that looks like. $600 at 3% equals $18. $200 at 2% equals $4. $2,000 at 1.5% equals $30. Total monthly cashback equals $52. That is $624 per year flowing back into your account, and you did not change a single spending habit to get it. You just changed the tool you were using to pay. But here is where Victor wants you to think bigger, because most people stop at cashback. They treat it like a small bonus, transfer it to checking, and spend it without thinking. The people who build real wealth from their credit card strategy treat that cashback as an automatic investment. They set up a rule. Every dollar that comes back from rewards goes directly into a brokerage account or a high-yield savings account before it can be absorbed into everyday spending. You are essentially creating a second invisible savings stream that runs parallel to your regular financial life. $624 a year invested at 8% annually for 25 years becomes over $50,000. $50,000 from cashback that most people spend on nothing in particular. Now let us talk about the credit score dimension, because this is something that has real compounding effects on your financial life that most people dramatically underestimate. Your credit score affects the interest rate you get on a mortgage, a car loan, even some apartment applications and job screenings. The difference between a credit score of 650 and a credit score of 750 on a 30-year mortgage of $300,000 can be over $60,000 in total interest paid. $60,000. And one of the most powerful tools for building a strong credit score is using a credit card responsibly. Every month you pay your full balance on time. Your credit score gets a quiet, positive signal. Your credit utilization stays low, your payment history stays clean, and over time your score climbs into a range that saves you money on every single major financial decision you ever make. Think about what that means in reverse for someone who is carrying high balances and making late payments. Every month, they are sending a negative signal. Their utilization creeps up, their score drops. And when they go to get a car loan or a mortgage, they get handed an interest rate that punishes them for years. The credit card is not neutral. It is either your ally or your adversary, and which one it is depends entirely on how you are treating it right now. Here is a behavioral pattern that shows up constantly in people who successfully flip their credit card relationship from liability to asset. They automate the payoff. They do not rely on remembering to pay the bill. They do not manually check the balance before the due date. They set up automatic full balance payments tied to their checking account, and they never think about it again. Automation removes willpower from the equation entirely. And willpower, as anyone who has ever tried to diet or exercise consistently knows, is the least reliable resource you have. Systems beat willpower every single time. But let us talk about the deeper psychological shift that happens when you master your credit card strategy. Because it is not just about the money. It changes how you see yourself in relation to financial systems. Most people feel vaguely victimized by banks and credit card companies. They feel like the system is rigged against regular people. And, in many ways, they are right. The system is designed to extract money from people who are not paying attention. But here is the thing. The moment you understand how the system works and start using it deliberately, you stop being a source of profit for the bank and start becoming a cost they are willing to absorb in exchange for your spending volume. You become the customer the bank is subsidizing. And that is a completely different identity to walk around with. There is a concept in behavioral economics called mental accounting, and it explains why most people struggle to treat their credit card rewards as real money. Because the rewards come in the form of points or cashback that sits in a separate account or app, your brain categorizes it as bonus money, play money, something that does not really count the same way your paycheck does. This is why people who would never spend $200 randomly from their checking account will spend the same amount in credit card points without hesitation. Once you recognize this mental accounting trap, you can override it. You can train yourself to treat every reward dollar with the same intentionality as a dollar earned from work, because it is real money. It is just arriving through a different channel. Now here is the part of this conversation where most financial advice falls completely flat. People tell you to just pay off your card every month, get a rewards card, and boom, you are winning. But they skip over the emotional reality of why that is so hard for most people to maintain. The truth is, overspending on credit cards is almost never really about the card itself. It is about emotional spending, about using purchases to manage stress, boredom, loneliness, or the feeling that you deserve something after a hard week. When you swipe a card for an emotional reason, no amount of cashback makes that transaction a good financial decision. You are borrowing from your future self to feel something right now. And the minimum payment reminder you get next month is not going to mention that the real cost of that purchase was your peace of mind. Understanding this pattern is what separates people who get lasting control over their credit card behavior from people who get it for a few months and then slide back. You cannot solve an emotional problem with a mathematical solution. The math is necessary, but it is not sufficient. You also need to identify what you are actually buying when you make an impulsive credit card purchase. And when you figure that out, you can find ways to meet that emotional need that do not cost you $12,000 in interest over the next decade. So here is the framework that actually works. 4 steps, each one building on the last. Step 1. Audit your current card. Look at your last 12 months of statements and calculate how much you paid in interest and fees. Write that number down somewhere visible. That is the cost of your current relationship with this tool. Seeing it as one number instead of 12 small monthly surprises changes how seriously you take fixing it. Step 2. Pay in full before anything else. Before you invest, before you fund non-essential goals, before anything optional happens with your money, your credit card balance goes to zero every single month. This is not optional if you want to flip the equation. You cannot build wealth through rewards while simultaneously losing it to interest. The math does not work in your favor when you are carrying a balance, no matter what. Step 3. Pick the right card for your actual spending. Not the card with the best advertisement or the most impressive sign-on bonus. Look at where your money actually goes every month and find a card that rewards those specific categories at the highest rate available. This sounds obvious, but the majority of people are using a card that was chosen for a bonus years ago and no longer fits their spending patterns at all. Step 4. Automate the rewards investment. Set a rule today. Every cashback transfer goes into a separate account designated for investing. You can start with something as simple as a high-yield savings account if the stock market feels intimidating. The key is removing the rewards from your everyday spending pool so they cannot be absorbed invisibly into daily life. Make them visible. Make them count. The compound effect of these 4 steps together is not linear. It is not just the rewards you earn or the interest you save, it is the credit score that improves over time, giving you better rates on the largest purchases of your life. It is the investment account that grows quietly in the background while you live your regular life. It is the identity shift that happens when you stop feeling at the mercy of a financial system and start feeling like you understand how to navigate it deliberately. Your credit card is not inherently good or bad. It is just a tool. And like any tool, it builds something when used correctly and destroys something when used carelessly. The question is not whether you should use one. The question is whether you are the one in control of it or whether it is in control of you. The choice, as always, is yours to make right now.